Hey friends, welcome to the channel. I'm Ken Smith, and today's video is about turning this plastic Atlas passenger station kit into this.
That looks very realistic. You can see our roof, our two-tone paint, and weathering. Very easy to do. So let's see how we did it in this video.
Alrighty, so I found this kit on eBay at a very respectable price. The listing said that it was an open box and that it appeared that all of the components to build it were there, but obviously the guy left his back door open by saying, if parts are missing, it makes a great kit bash project. So we open it up, and how refreshing. No instructions. Why am I not surprised? That's okay though. I think I've got a picture to go by, and I think it looks I don't know, I think it's got some potential. The shingle detail doesn't look too horribly bad. That must be the optional passenger platform roof. Snap-in base. Well, let's see, I'm modeling two different eras. One to start with is in the late 1800s. I'm kind of thinking that that's not going to work. The other era is during the Depression era, and I don't think that's going to work. But we'll set it aside, kind of figure out what we're going to do. More of that same goodness for that piece over there. That. And that should probably take care of all the roofing material. And then we got this beautiful bright green for benches and baggage wagon and some other additional stuff. This looks like part of the brown trim, supports for the passenger roof, passenger station roof. This is the color of the body of the building. Looks okay. I can already see I've got one challenge, because in the picture it showed a phone booth, and that looks like part of the phone booth is molded in right there. And 1881, I'm kind of thinking they didn't have a Paycoin phone booth. We'll have to figure out something there. Also, here is the diamond for Railway Express Agency. Well, that's all fine and dandy, except that didn't happen until the early 1900s. I'll be modeling the late 1800s, so I'm not sure what to do there. I'm not a rivet counter, so I might just put the Railway Express Agency on it. You know, my railroad, my rules. And then there's all the doors and windows. And then finally we've got, looks like some window glazing, some other additional window glazing. There's our decals. So looking at it, it looks like everything is there, but I don't like the color. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to change the color. Probably going to paint all the windows and doors brown. I might try to paint this buff or something along those lines. kind of paint this maybe a little darker brown. The roof I'm going to go with a flat black, and I'll have to make some kind of a wooden platform base. But I think all in all, this kit's really got some potential to make a nice model, so let's get at it. Initially, I painted all the doors and the windows brown, as you saw earlier, and the building was just kind of a primer gray. It was going to match the water tower that we just got done finishing. But the more I thought about it, I'm like, well, that just looks plain. So what I ended up doing is I decided I was going to do a two-part color of the building. And part of that inspiration, believe it or not, was a model kit that I saw. I believe might have been by Banta Models. It was in a similar paint scheme, and also saw something similar in the Walthers catalog. And so I thought, gosh, I really kind of like that idea. And so you can kind of get an idea of what that's going to look like. It's just kind of a subtle color, but honestly, I think it's just enough to make things really stand out, give it more of a craftsman feel to a kit that might otherwise just be really plain. All right, everything is now painted. I'm going to start assembling the basic structure. I'm going to use this just as a jig. I dry fitted the pieces in here to see if I could easily remove them, and I can. So the next step is I just want to go ahead and assemble the main superstructure. I'm not going to glue it in the base, again, just using that as a assembly jig. And then I can look at some additional weathering and whatnot before I start gluing in the glass for the windows as well as gluing on the roof. Now that I've got the main structure assembled, it's time to get some weathering, and I want to do some weathering before I actually install the window glazing. And I'll also need to trim off the bottom tabs. Remember, I said I used the base as a kind of a jig, but I'm done with that now, and so I'll need to trim those off as well. I found that the Atlas station somewhat resembled the Chucky station that was for the Southern Railway, located here in Chucky, Tennessee. They actually moved this station to Jonesboro. The railroad was going to scrap it, and there was a big to-do. And eventually, they did salvage it. Notice that the ticket booth here is squared, just like the station that we are modeling. And I really liked this paint scheme. I almost went with it. And but it was actually a Banta Models that I saw that convinced me to go in the opposite direction. So I'm going to save this yellow for another train station. You can see it's really not that big, and was the perfect station to model for a small town. Next up, I'm going to go ahead and make a kind of a cardstock template of what a wood base is going to kind of look like. Now, I'm only going to make a template because until I get ready to actually plant this in the scene, I'm not really exactly sure whether this is going to end up being along a curve in the track or if it's going to be straight. And so I just want to make kind of a cardstock template and see what it's going to look like, because I'm not going to use the cement base. Alrighty, so I've gone ahead, you can see the plastic base there. I went ahead and made my template, but then I also drew a bunch of lines here just to kind of simulate some wood. So we're going to go ahead and take this, put it on there, and see what it looks like. Well, I really think that this came out really nice. This gives me a really good idea of what this would look like with a wood platform. Very pleased with how the weathering came out and the painting. For an inexpensive plastic model, I'm quite impressed. Wasn't sure how the two-tone paint was going to show up, but again, came out pretty nice. Overall, I'm very pleased with a very inexpensive plastic kit that with just a little bit of patience and paint and artist chalks, this really came out pretty nice. I think with our water tower now, we got a really nice looking pair that should be very nice on our model railroad that we are building. So very excited about that. If you haven't seen that video, by the way, I'll throw a link down in the description for that.
Now, one thing that I'd like to point out right here is there was a phone booth, and you can actually see where the phone booth would have extended out. We're obviously not going to use this platform, but what I did was I didn't have a door. And so I just took one of the doors for the phone booth and just kind of flush glued it, put a little trim around the door frame to just kind of hide it. I really don't care too much for that, and probably will remove it later on and actually put a door there. But for now, I didn't have a door handy, didn't have anything to make a door handy, and so I just used what was in the kit, which is also something that you can do too if you choose to remove the phone booth. I'm really excited how everything is coming along on the Barelee Makinet Railroad. Have a wonderful day, and you all be blessed.